I never made a conscious decision to ever hurt anybody, much less kill anybody. I went there as a person in control of the situation and of myself. Would it have transpired like that?
I don't know.
Hell no.
Betty Broderick. Her name is linked to one of the most shocking stories of love, betrayal, and revenge. In this video, we'll explore the life of Betty Broderick and the events that led to a tragic crime in 1989. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more true crime stories. Now, let's dive into Betty Broderick's story. Broderick was born on November 7, 1947, as Elizabeth Ann Bisheglia. She grew up in Eastchester, New York, with her 5 other siblings. In 1965, as a 17-year-old first-year student at Mount St. Vincent College, she went to a football game at the University of Notre Dame. There, she met Daniel Dan Broderick III, a Notre Dame senior at the time. The pair married on April 12, 1969. After Dan finished his studies at Harvard Law, he, Broderick, and their 2 daughters moved to San Diego in 1973. Broderick considered her husband's hiring of Linda Kolkina as his assistant to be a turning point in their marriage. By 1983, she suspected there was an affair. When she was convinced that her suspicions were correct, she set fire to Dan's clothes in their yard. Dan and Broderick split up in February 1985, leaving her in a rental home while he returned to their home in La Jolla, a San Diego suburb. In September 1985, he filed for divorce. During and after the contentious divorce proceedings, Broderick disobeyed restraining orders and threatened death. She once went to her husband's house and spray-painted the walls, and she also smeared cream pie on Dan's belongings. She felt she had no choice but to lash out because he, as the president of the San Diego Bar Association, was using his professional know-how and connections to harm her interests. Dan gained full custody of their children and was able to sell the family home against Broderick's wishes due to a court order. Broderick drove her car into the front door of Dan's new home after the house sale, causing a 3-day mental hold. She frequently left profane messages, later explaining that she was reacting to hearing Linda's voice on the answering machine when she called to speak with her sons. The divorce went through in 1986, though there were ongoing disputes about custody and alimony. Broderick was eventually awarded monthly support of $16,000, but she, a former socialite, felt this was not enough given her expenses. At one point she said, "I had nothing left to live on." On the morning of November 5, 1989, Broderick drove to Dan and Linda's San Diego home. Using her daughter's keys, Broderick entered the house and went to the bedroom, where Dan and Linda were still sleeping. Broderick then fired 5 bullets from her revolver. Linda was hit twice and died instantly, and Dan was struck once. Broderick never denied killing Dan and Linda, claiming she entered their home to confront them about ongoing legal issues, after which she planned to commit suicide. Broderick claimed she was startled and pulled the trigger when Dan reached for the phone to call the police. She didn't have any bullets left to kill herself.
I did bring the gun as a way to make Dan and Linda listen to me. For the first time in this whole thing, I couldn't prevail in court no matter what. Dan was the kingpin in this town legally.
Oh, I understand what you're saying, but Betty, 2 people are dead.
Every time I went to his house to talk to him, and that's what I did every time he had me cornered, I went there to talk to him. And if he saw me coming, he'd call the police and have me arrested.
But that morning, the gun was in the car, you consciously took the gun out of the car,
I did.
Went up the stairs to talk to them, and what happened?
And to keep them from calling the police. I was going to make them listen and talk to me. I opened the door. It wasn't closed tightly. As I opened the door and entered the room, Linda said, "Call the police." Dan went for the phone, and I screamed, "No!" And just the gun went off, and that's as fast as it happened.
After the killings, Broderick was charged with murder. The first trial ended in a mistrial in November 1990 when jurors couldn't decide whether to convict her on murder or manslaughter charges. However, despite Broderick's claims that she had been abused and manipulated, the jury at her second trial found her guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder in December 1991. Broderick received a sentence of 32 years to life and was sent to prison. She became eligible for parole in 2010, but this was not approved. At the time, one parole commissioner told her, "Your heart is still bitter, and you are still angry." Broderick was again refused parole in 2017. After this, she wrote, "I have met all criteria for parole and my release date was 2010. Now I am only a political prisoner. They have no reason to deny my parole." Broderick's supporters condemned the murders, but believed she had been mistreated by her husband. She had supported him and their young family while he finished Cornell University Medical School and went on to Harvard Law School, and she had remained by his side as he established himself as a medical malpractice attorney. Dan had left his first wife for a younger woman when his law career was flourishing and he was earning $1 million, depriving Broderick of the luxurious lifestyle they both desired. Betty Broderick's story is a reminder of how love can turn into tragedy. What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up and share it. Thanks for watching.